Hadley here from stampingbees.co.nz, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Welcome back. Now this week's video is a bit of a follow-on from last week's video, which I covered masking. So a very, not similar, but another effective way of creating backgrounds, etc. is Emboss Resist. So I'd just like to cover that technique with you today and show you a couple of versions and some cards that I've made. So I do hope you enjoy. Let's flip over and let's get started. So today we're talking about Emboss Resist, as I said, and in your catalogue, in the Creativity is Calling annual catalogue, you'll find on page 181 all the different embossing powders that you can use. There's black, clear, copper, gold, shimmer black, shimmer white, love the shimmer white, silver and white. So lots of options there. So that, as I say, is on page 181. So once again, like I did last week, I'm going to just show you some samples. Excuse me, I've left them way over there, so I've only got little short arms. And I will show you some samples and then I will walk through some basic Emboss Resist techniques with you. So this one was using Pacific Point paper, clear embossing onto the card and then putting the colours around it. And that just maintains that blue through the clear embossing. So whatever else you do on top of this paper is the blue from the clear embossing paste is going, clear embossing powder, heat embossing is going to remain steadfast. So that's that one. And this one was using white paper and I glimmer embossed these snowflakes and then created the blue background with the Brayer, the foam Brayer, which I'll show you as well, and then made the foreground. And this one I also clear embossed. I clear embossed a piece of paper and cut it into 3, and I clear embossed these ones as well. It was a stamp set I really wanted to use the, you know, this happens to me every time. I must be age or stage fright, I don't know, but it's the stained glass window stamp set, which I just have not used enough, and it is so beautiful that I just wanted to create something with it. And I clear embossed the background for this. And for this one, this has been embossed with shimmer white, once again, the trees from the winter woods, and then I have watercolored the background. So lots of different effects you can get. This is just using clear and white, but you can use any of the colours to create the scene that you're wanting. So let's just do a couple of examples just to show you. So as per usual, you just grab your, I'll just grab a bit of paper. I have pre-done the embossing, but I'll just go over it with you. So always use your embossing buddy. This just removes any dampness from your card that might attract the powder, and you get powdered spots and dots where you don't want them. And I keep mine on top of my Versamark ink so that I do not forget to use it. So when I pull out my ink, when I pull out my Versamark ink, that's sitting on it, and it just reminds me to use it. So I'm just going to do the snowflake here with that. This is from the gorgeous Frosted Foliage suite. And the trees are from the Winter Woods. So let's just ink this up. A bit of fluff on there. So just ink that up. Now, you do, if you're wanting to do a large coverage, you do have to make sure you can see. You can just see that where the Versamark is. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. I certainly can see it here because I really don't want them to overlap. So I would just stamp that around. I will sprinkle it with this. This is white embossing powder. So I keep mine all in little plastic containers with spoons. I find that easier. Everyone sort of develops their own systems, but I will just sprinkle that and then tap off any excess and then use the heat gun and emboss that. So you know that it's embossed when the powder turns shiny. So just always have a good check of that before you finish to make sure that it is shiny, every bit of it. So something I prepared earlier because I don't want to blast that heat gun in your ear. I have got a sample, so we'll just start off. I have done a few, so I can show you some different techniques. This has been white embossed on here. This has also been white embossed, and I just wanted to show you, this is watercolor, just wanted to show you here, I left a bit here, and I didn't use the embossing buddy, so I've got a bit of Versamark there, and I've left a white bit on that corner, just so you could see. I don't know if you can see, well, I'm hoping you can, that it's shiny, and then that is not shiny, and I'll just do the watercolor and show you what happens. But that's how you can tell. You just have a really good look and you see the shine, and then that's not shiny, so it means it hasn't been embossed. I really am hoping you can see that. And this was the clear embossing, so Pacific Point. I have clear embossed this just to show you how to add some colour with this. And we will get started. So with this watercolour one, I will grab some colours. I love doing watercolour because the colours, this is Pear Pizzazz, the colours that you use, this, when you put ink inside them, the ink just goes, when you put ink in here, it just seems to go everywhere. Oops, I've shut that one and I don't want to. It really does come out with different colours that you don't expect. I think one of my favourites is Blueberry Bushel, actually, for that. That was a nice surprise. So when I've poured ink in there, that's why those ones look so messy, but just sometimes you have to really give it a good squash to get that ink to go on the lid. Yeah, that's better. So I'm just going to run, I'm not going to, obviously if I was doing this, for something specific, I'd be more, now see, I'm going to run over that powdered bit. It's not too bad, but it will probably show up a bit more when so I'm giving it a good watering. This is on the watercolour paper. So watercolour paper and shimmer paper are fantastic for watercolouring because they allow you to move the colours around, which doesn't happen on standard cardstock. The ink will just get soaked up into the card. But you can really move it around with this paper. So as you can see, I'm adding this colour, and the trees, which you couldn't really see before, are starting to come out. I'm just adding 3 different colours for you to have a look at. See, it's really starting to show, but the ink, the colour of the ink does not get taken up on to the trees. I'm just giving this a bit of a wipe before I pick up the next colour. This is Blueberry Bushel. Now, see where that has been totally lost on that part where it didn't emboss properly. So that is why you need to check. I'm assuming you can see that. it is just, it's not going to be. So you would let that dry, but because I want to show you, obviously before it dries, I've got a tissue here, and I will just wipe some of that colour away, and you can see, just add a bit more blue up there so you can see it better. But that corner is not going to be very good. Just wanted to show you basically what happens. So it really is worthwhile to go through and make sure that you have embossed everything. There we go. And that is Watercolor Resist, Embossing Resist. So that is that one, which is this, well, very loosely I used those colours for this card here and created that with watercolour paper. Okay, so that's that one, using watercolour techniques with watercolour paper. And I'll keep that one there actually because I'm going to use that. Pop that over there. Now I'm going to use the Brayer for the next one. So I will grab this, a little bit wet, be all right. So we'll use the Brayer. Now Brayers are fantastic for adding lovely quick colour. I will just use, this is Balmy Blue and Blueberry Bushel and Seaside Spray. I love Seaside Spray. So I have got a Brayer. Just check that's not got too much colour. A little bit of blue, but that's fine. That's what I will be using. So with the Brayer, the same as when you're using daubers or sponges, just start off on the side. Ink up. Now when you're inking up, you go on the pad in one direction. That covers the sponge equally, rather than if you go backwards and forwards, it doesn't. So starting off, so I don't get a blob, I then just run on. So the beautiful thing about these Brayers is that the colour gets put on pretty quickly, and you can just go over until you're happy with the depth of colour. I just love how quickly that happens. Then you can come back to it and add a bit more, or take, you know, well, you can't take it away, but once again, with like any colouring, you need to start off light and build up, which is the standard comment I make, but it really is true. You can't go in too dark because you can't take it away. Just start again. So it's so quick. Look at that. It's just beautiful. I love it. And I'll add a bit of Blueberry Bushel just for the depth at the top. That's just the three. I'll just spin that around. And add the Blueberry Bushel. Look how quickly that is, adding those colours. Isn't that just gorgeous? When you've got a bit of a night sky, you can add a bit of black, you can add a bit of navy blue if you wanted to darken it a bit more. You just go through and you just change it up as you want. But that is basically using the Brayer on Emboss Resist. So I have stamped these onto just white paper with white embossing powder. You could use clear, but I wanted really strong white, and I then have gone over with the Brayer, colouring it in, and the white just stays behind. You can, if you do a lot of colour, sometimes you just get a dry tissue and wipe off any excess on your pattern, and they shine up. So that is the second option. Oops, lost my tissue. And now the third one I will show you, and you can use this obviously with any paper. I'm just showing you with this one. You can use white paper for this option as well. It doesn't have to be the blue. So I'm just going to grab the, now this has been clear embossed. So when I colour now, that colour is not going to go on. Okay, I might just do some Balmy Blue, some Mary Merlot. I've just randomly selected colours here. So obviously if you've got a plan of the colours that you're wanting for a specific project, you would then select what you need. So I'll just grab a green, a blue, and a red. I'll just keep mine in here until they sort of get to, about to throw this one out. It's got a bit fluffy from overuse. So, okay. So I'm just going to, as I say, dab up my dauber up my dauber. And I'll just, once again, you start off and you come on and you start off light. So I'm just adding the colour, and you'll find, because it is a blue background, I probably used a darker red then. You probably, a lighter red would have been better, but this is just adding a bit there. And I'm not off screen. The stars, the snowflakes are done in the clear, as I say, so the underlying blue will remain. So I'll add a bit of green. Oops. Once again, start off your paper, don't want a big blob. Then start on, come on. So that's Pear Pizzazz. And then the last colour I selected was some Balmy Blue. Oh, excuse me. Just to blend those together a bit. So obviously you would take more time to blend these in really well. But I'm just wanting to show you the Emboss Resist today, so I will work through this, not as long as I would take if I was actually okay. It's not too badly blended anyway, so it all merges into one, which is what you're wanting. And I'll just close these ink pads up. Don't know if you can see, but just get my tissue, which is on the floor, and I'll just buff up the, I don't know if you can see that coming through. So this is just wiping off any excess that may have gotten on top of the Emboss Resist snowflakes, and they really do come up and shine when you do this. So this is another technique for creating a gorgeous background. So you can see that blue from the Pacific Point cardstock is shining through on the clear emboss. I've just wiped off any excess that may have gotten on from the Daubers, and it is just gorgeous, lovely and shiny. So that's that option. We have the watercolor option, making sure that you have dried off all your embossing powder, because as you can see, that tree has lost the tip. And we have the flakes on the background and using the brayer. So those are three, but obviously that just gives you a little idea on how it works. I've used clear and white embossing powder, but as I was saying, there is quite a few embossing powder options for you to use. So similar to my video last week about masking, you're creating a option of a focal point that you're able to then use, create a background without affecting your focal point by either masking or using Emboss Resist. There's just so many beautiful options that you can create with these techniques. So once again, I will just show you these cards. These are just some, I love doing these sort of things, creating these backgrounds and colours and playing with colours and seeing what will happen. There's the pigment sprinkles you can use to, so once you've embossed, you can just chuck them on and wet them and see what colours come out. It's just so exciting seeing the different, you can never get the same thing twice, so it will be different every time you do it, which is fantastic. So this is on the watercolour paper once again with the Emboss Resist, and that's the sparkly white embossing powder. This is clear embossed powder on white though, and then creating the colour, sorry, and then embossing powder on top, because I wanted the different colours. And that maintained the colours through the clear embossing. This is white embossing powder again, and using the Brayer to create this night sky. And this was on Pacific Point paper. So I hope this has given you some ideas of some things to try. Please do give it a go. It's so fun experimenting and having a go with different techniques. You get to know which ones you like, and you might create something stunning that you absolutely fall in love with. So do give it a go. If you've got any questions, please do send them through. I look forward to seeing you next time. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and leave any comments. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.